A few months ago, I hired my 12-year-old son to help me in my business. He was sorting through some data and some numbers when he suddenly looked up and said, "Mom, you just made in a few months what some professional athletes make in an entire year." I smiled and I was like, "I know, it's pretty amazing, right? I'm so grateful." But then he hit me with a question that I wasn't expecting and I didn't know the answer to. He asked, how many people actually make that much from their business? So I looked it up and the answer was pretty shocking. Only 1.9% of women will grow their business to 7 figures or beyond. So after generating millions of dollars in revenue and helping thousands of my students scale and grow their businesses, I've seen some trends and patterns that I'm excited to share with you today. So the truth is, growing to 7 figures isn't about working harder. It's about doing the right things in the right order. So today I'm going to break down exactly what those steps are so that you can copy and paste them into your own business. Let's go. Hi, I'm Laura Meyer. If we haven't had a chance to connect yet, I am a growth strategist to some of the country's fastest growing brands, a business consultant, and I help thousands of other people just like you get started in consulting. I also have a book called Win-Win, which is free on Amazon Unlimited. Look for this cover and dig in. I'm sure you'll love it. So today I just want to share with you that scaling isn't really about luck or doing all the things all at once. It's about having a really good strategy and making sure that you're doing the right steps in the right order. A lot of times when my students come into my community, they're doing a lot of the right things, but not at the right time. So what happens is they spin their wheels and never get the growth that they really want. So today in this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 reasons why I think a lot of entrepreneurs just never make it to the 7-figure mark and what you can do about it starting today. So there's a lot of reasons why people think that women-owned businesses don't eventually make it to 7 figures. It might be that they don't have as much access to education or capital in different situations. What I'm going to talk about today is the actions that are more internal, the ones that we have control over, the ones that we can take today. So the first thing I want to talk about is how focus plays into growth. I'm always so surprised how many beginning entrepreneurs have a lot of different things going on. Maybe they come into my community or they start out with one of my beginning courses and I get to know them a little bit and I realize they're not only consulting, but they also have a cafe and they also coach, but not in the way that they're consulting. And they have so many different offers that they are delivering and marketing and selling to totally different audiences. It ends up being a really hard way to grow. So lean in close here. I want to share something with you really important. If you have more than one offer that you're going out into the market with, and you haven't either maximized that offer or hit $500,000 in revenue, stop. What you're going to want to do is choose one offer to lean into. And it's not because you're not talented and intelligent. Many people will say to me, well, I'm really good at time management. I appreciate that. I'm good at time management too. But so many beginning entrepreneurs underestimate how much focus and attention to detail it takes to do something well. And what does doing something well have to do with being able to scale an offer? Well, when your delivery is impeccable, your customer service is top-notch, when the product has been iterated on so many times that you know it is the very best that it can be, that takes a tremendous amount of focus. So like I said, time is very, very different than focus. You can be amazing at time management, but it really comes down to what are you thinking about on your time off, when you're in the shower, when you're driving, when you're picking up your kids from sports practice, like I am, and you have a few minutes. What are you processing, thinking about, getting advice around? When you're focused, it's so much easier to scale that offer because you're doing such a good job at that one thing. I know a lot of entrepreneurs really struggle with this idea of focus because they worry, okay, well, if I go all in on this one thing, what if it doesn't work out? But that's such a misnomer because what if you spread yourself so thin on so many different things that none of them work out? In my experience, that is so much more likely than doing a really good job at one thing so that you can scale it and grow it and stabilize it. And when and only when you stabilize that one offer, should you add on another one. So here's the winning formula for getting to 7 figures. Make sure that you have one offer, one platform, so one marketing strategy to one single avatar until you hit 7 figures or until you've completely maxed out that offer and you've consciously decided to no longer grow it. So here's an example from my own business. I specialized in business consulting when I first started out 8 years ago. Prior to that, I was a brick and mortar business owner for 15 years. And I worked at that consulting offer for a very long time. I made sure that my onboarding was really strong and that I had systems and processes for delivering my offer. I developed my own IP around that offer, and I got it to the point where it's generating $300,000-$400,000 a year with very little of my time involvement. And then, and only then, did I decide to start a course side of my business. And that's what got me to 7 figures. But I never gave up the consulting revenue. Sometimes people ask me, well, how long will you keep consulting? And I say forever. It's such a great business model, and it is the foundation of my revenue. So this is so important. When you apply this strategy at the very beginning stages of your business, what you're going to find is that you'll be working on that offer and you'll make sure that your marketing is great and you'll perfect your sales process. And all of a sudden you'll come up for air and look around and realize that you've surpassed your revenue goals. So the next thing I want to share is going to be very much an unpopular opinion in the online space, which is that many people start off with the wrong business model, which is why they struggle so much to get to that 7-figure mark. So for example, let's take online courses. You hear from so many people in the online space that are like, just start a course, go ahead and sell it, create it once, sell it multiple times. It's passive income, but especially in the beginning stages, it's anything but passive. And what a lot of people don't tell you is that it requires a pretty big capital investment up front in order for you to be able to get to a reasonable salary that could replace a full-time income or replace other available alternatives when it comes to growing your business. So let's look at the math on this. Let's say that you have a $500 course that converts at 2%, which would be about average of the amount of people that consider looking at that course or look at your sales page. You would need at least 10,000 views to that sales page in order to hit just $100,000 in revenue. Never mind the time and expense that it takes to get an audience big enough to generate 10,000 views to a sales page. As an alternative, let's say that you want to land 10 consulting clients at a $10,000 average. You would need about 20 leads and you would need to close them at a 50% closing rate, which is pretty reasonable for a consulting offer in order to hit 6 figures in revenue. So here's the truth. Most entrepreneurs are nowhere near ready to scale courses or low-ticket offers. They don't have the time, the capital, or the audience in order to be able to wait for it to get to the point where it is at 6 figures or beyond. So if you haven't gotten to 6 figures yet in your business, I highly recommend a high-ticket, time-leveraged offer like consulting. The first reason is higher profit margins. You don't need a ton of ad spend or lots of infrastructure, technology, recording, and software, anything like that in order to be able to get to that 6-figure mark. Most high-ticket offers, services like consulting have an 80% profit margin or better, which allows you to eventually reinvest that cash into scaling a mass market offer. The second is faster sales cycles, and you don't need a huge audience in order to be able to grow that business. So once you hit 6 figures or multiple 6 figures with your high-touch private client offer, something like consulting, then and only then do I think that you should consider selling to the masses. So if you've grown your business to 6 figures and you're plateauing or you're stuck there, chances are there's a few things that are happening. The first is that you're spending a majority of your time delivering on that offer. You haven't dialed it in, productized it, or systemized it enough where it doesn't need you as much in the delivery process. And when that happens, you're completely maxed out. You're spending so much more time in the business than on it. Getting to that 7-figure formula includes a flip of how you spend your time. Once you get to the point where your offer is really nicely productized and it's time leveraged by design, the time that you spend on what you're doing actually flips. So instead of spending 80% of your time in delivery and maybe 10 or 20% on marketing and sales, you're spending 80% of your time marketing and sales and business development and only 20% of your time in delivery. So the answer to this is to make sure that you have a highly productized offer that you're selling if you're selling services. Every single client should go through the same exact process, no matter what type of client they are when they're working with you. They go through the same series of steps. And this is the secret to reducing the amount of time that you spend in delivery. So if you have dreams of being a multi-million-dollar business owner and you're feeling like it feels really hard, remember these tips. The first thing you're going to want to do is just make sure that you're applying the right strategy at the right stage in your business. If you are just spinning your wheels trying to sell to the masses, what you might want to do is increase your prices, narrow down who you're selling to, and go for that high margin, high ticket business model, at least in the beginning stages. Second, if you have a lot of different offers and your business is plateauing or it's declining, what you want to do is really make sure that you focus. Remember the principle: one offer, one avatar, one platform until 1 million, or you've maxed out the offer. If you're not sure and you're like, oh, but I really like this or I really like that offer, I don't know where to specialize, choose your best guess, because specializing is so much better than spreading yourself so thin that you never give yourself a chance to succeed. And finally, make sure that you are shifting from, at a certain point, delivering your offer to systemizing or productizing or outsourcing the delivery of it to your 100% focus being on growing it. And if you've been listening so far and you're thinking, gosh, I would really like to get into consulting, I'm in the beginning stages, or I'm at 6 figures or multi-6 figures, I'm at a point where I want to productize or systemize that offer, make sure it's really well stabilized so I can continue to grow, you're going to love my Consulting Offer Accelerator. For such a low price point, it is a fantastic way to get started in consulting, and it also gives you lifetime access to my private school community. Inside of the community, you're going to see lots of wins posted all the time, and you'll be able to connect with smart experts like you who are looking to get started in consulting. If this sounds like something you'd love, make sure to check the link below to get started with my Consulting Offer Accelerator. And if you want to learn more about how to get started in consulting, check out this playlist, and I'll see you in the next video.